In this lesson, we're going to begin working on the main details of our coat. Alright, so we've got the main forms all set. Now we want to start working in some of the details that we see on that. So let's go ahead and take a look at our concept art again. And you'll see here that we have this puffer detail on the on most of the jacket. The upper part of the chest doesn't have that detail there, just on the arms and then lower portion here. Now with this detail, we want to make sure that we don't get carried away and make that really puffy. We just want enough there to really be able to see the stitching and to see that it's raised up off of that a little bit. Okay, we want it to look like an old worn out coat, so the material that's inside making that look puffy is broken down and matted and not really supporting that shape any longer. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started with that. So we're going to go ahead and go into ZBrush, and the first thing I want to do is I want to remesh the coat. As you can see here, the topology isn't the greatest. We're getting a lot of bunched up right in here, and I don't really like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down to Geometry. We're going to go to Z Remesher, and I'm going to set my target polygon count. I'll leave it at 5 for right now. I'm going to set my adaptive size of my polygons to 20 and hit Z Remesher. We'll wait for that to finish up, and you'll see that it gives us nice clean topology here. So we get the collar coming down and around the bottom. Okay, it's looking really good. Really happy with the way that looks so far. Okay, so now with that remesh, let's hit Shift F to turn off Polyframe. Let's go up to Subtools. Let's hit Control D to duplicate, or not duplicate, but to divide that. And let's go ahead and go to our clay standard brush, or clay brush, excuse me. And let's start filling in some of the areas. So first off, we're going to lose a little bit of our shape on the character. So we're not going to see any indentions from the breasts or anything like that. We're going to tell that it's still a woman in the jacket. Okay, we're still going to see that shape there, but it's not going to be like the t-shirt. Okay, so need to make sure we build that in. You may just add a little bit more mass to the coat altogether in some areas, so it might help with that. So smooth it out once you've done that. Okay. All right. So now what we want to do is we want to go ahead and start blocking out the areas of the jacket. So I'm going to actually be using my mask to do this. And I'm going to draw in the stitching, so the places in between all of this. And so let's go ahead and take our draw size down, and I'm just going to start masking this out. Let me go ahead and go up another subdivision, maybe even 2, just to kind of get a nice smooth mask I could see. Now with that, let me go ahead and turn on my stroke, and actually hold down Control, then go to Stroke. Lazy mouse, take your step down to 0. 30 radius is okay. So then I'm going to come in and I'm going to start blocking off the areas of this coat. Okay, looks good. And then if it feels like the line is a little thick, that's okay. Not going to worry about that. Alright, so there's that. Now what I want to do is I want to start blocking out the quadrants for these. And let me actually take my draw size down a little bit further. So hold down Control, and we'll just start blocking this out. And you don't have to be perfect with these. We want to try to get them square. Remember, this is an old coat, and so if it's not quite right, if it's a little unbalanced in some areas, that's perfectly fine. It's just going to add to it. And let's make sure we're right in the center here. And I'm going to start drawing that straight down the middle of the back. I'll tell you what, I'm actually going to go all the way down, just to make this simple. Okay. Let me hit Control and then Alt. Let me get rid of the right across the portion here, because there's going to be this ridge going across the bottom of the jacket. So if you want, you can actually mask that out too. Go right across that. Okay. There we go. And then let's go ahead and finish out the front. Bring that across there. And like I said, if it starts to get off just a little bit, it's okay. Don't worry about it. It just kind of adds to it. Okay, and then I'm going to draw down. And there we go. Okay, so we've got those shapes there. Now we need to go ahead and do the arms as well. So I'm going to go around the shoulders, just like this. Make sure that goes up underneath the armpit there and then meets underneath as well. All right, perfect. Probably going to have a stitch going right across the top of the shoulder to there. And then you may want to go ahead and kind of block out where that's going to meet at the collar. I'll take Control Z, I don't want to blur that. And then go around the back, just like that. I'm going to hit Control and then Alt and remove that mask there. There we go. All right, good. All right, so with that, what we can do now is we can start to mask out the arms. So I'm going to come in, holding down Control, and did it again. Accidentally clicked on it. And we'll go right across the arms. We'll make these kind of large. We don't have to make these really small. Divide the arms up into 4 different areas. Well, 5 different areas, I suppose. And I'll come down right down the side of this. And this is where it gets kind of tricky, trying to match these lines up again. I'm actually trying to get them straight. But we'll just do our best. Okay. And then you may come up underneath the arm and right down the side. Do that. Okay, good. And just take it nice and slow. Make your strokes and try to get them to attach the best that you can. Oops. There we go, clicking on that again. Okay. And then right across the back here. It sure seems like a whole lot of setup just to get these details, but sometimes you just got to do what you got to do. I want to make sure that's nice and thick there. Alright, so there we go. We have that on the other side. We could, I think it'd probably be best if we went ahead and went right down the front of the arm too. Well, actually I'm looking at that. Let's take a look at this really quickly. Broke that into halves there. Actually, I think that's really all we need. We don't need to put another line right down the front. I think we're good with that. Okay, so we've blocked all of that out. And what we're going to do now is we are going to take something like the inflate brush and just lightly coming over the top of these areas and just inflating that. Now, with this, it's going to gradually build up. Let's take a look at our brush depth on this one. And I want to draw that down, something like this, and just kind of go over the top of that. That's pretty good with that. But I feel like it's building up a little too fast. So I'm going to take my Z intensity down and just lightly go over the top of this. Okay, it's much easier to control. And again, we don't want anything to where these sections are really big. Okay, we just want to build it up a little bit. Separate that out. Okay. And we'll just continue, just kind of bumping across this, making sure that we get our ridges in there. And go down the arms too, across the bottom of the coat. And notice as we're inflating across the edge, it's bringing that together. And we've got a nice little bend there. Okay. Alright, so that's looking pretty good. We continue on just a little bit. Kind of start to puff out the collar too. And again, not much, just enough to change the shape of the coat and to really show that we have these areas in here. And then as we bring these areas up and we start to make this puff out more and more like a coat, what we can do is we can soften it. We can start playing with the stitching in the areas and things like that. Alright, so let's go ahead and hold control. Get away from that stitching there, and there we go. We've got our jacket blocked out there. And then all we have to do now is come in and just simply bump over the top of that, and it softens that. Now I'm not pushing and I'm not holding on that. I'm just bumping these areas, just softening the creases that it's created. Okay, and then we'll come in with something like the Dam Standard brush and we'll really make it look like it's stitched down deep in those areas. Okay, but just soften that. And look at that. That's awesome. Okay, so in our next lesson, what we're going to do is we're going to start adding more detail to this. We'll start adding the stitching in between, and then we'll start getting into different aspects of making it look like a jacket. So we'll get into that next.